What are we doing?
Spreading dirt.
Alright, so I didn't film this whole job, because there was a bunch of kids here, but they've gone back to school. And anybody that's followed me for a while knows I don't like to put people's kids on the internet. We took down all the trees. You can see on their roof, the problem they were having was their roof. You could see the moss. The house had no sunlight. Would we take down like 10, 11 monsters?
Yeah, something like that.
And then see the roof. Now they're getting tons of sunlight. But the house was always in the shade. And the front yard was a massive hole. But the whole yard is a massive hole. I wish I could have got this film, but what they wanted to do is just get the yard to kind of like just taper off and meet up with the wood line. Because they have no backyard because it's a hole. They have no side yard because it's a massive hole. They had a little spot by the house that was flat, which was here.
Yep.
So basically, their yard came out a little flat area like this. So like right here, like this tree on screen. So basically, this is all they had for our front yard. And then this line right here, that I started to dip down, massive hole. So I think all in all we put
8.
No, yardage wise.
Yardage wise.
We put 200 and something yards of fill in this hole, and yeah, took down. Ooh, I'd probably say between 10 and 12 trees, because I don't know, I don't really count the little ones as we're doing stuff. Stumped the whole place. The only problem we had with this job was the dig safe or the locate or on target, wherever you live they call it something different. Here it's called dig safe. Came out and the flags are gone. A couple of them are still there, but this was a huge hump. Going out by this tree was a huge hump. Like the whole yard was like, you know, just a massive hole. Then it come out of the hole, then it went up really high over a bump. So I had to shave the front down there. But the problem we had was the guy that showed up was a little sauced up, and I could smell it on him. So I was walking around with him. I'm like, all right, is that everything? And he's like, yeah. And he took off. And I wish I could have got it on film, but we ended up getting all the stumps out. There's a water line that runs right through here. Water department came out. They don't do from the gate to the house. So they only do from the street to the gate, which was stupid because I already knew where that was. Day one, I had a cone on it when we were banging the trees down and running through the chipper. So the water line runs from here straight to the house. The only problem is the house is built in 1970 something, and they weren't required to use tracer wire on the well line going to the house. So there's basically no way to trace it from that gate to the house. So what we did was we went in the house, we went in the basement, and we basically looked to see where it came in. And it comes in just to the left of that little bush. But based off of the trees that were there and the opening between the trees and the size of the trees leads me to believe the trees have been there for at least, what do we say, at least 80 years maybe.
Yeah.
They were big trees.
Yeah, they were big.
So the water line, in my thought, had to have gone between the trees. And if I was an excavating guy in 1970s, I would have went equal distance between the trees. So, you know what I mean? Ran it right up the middle of the opening. So what I'm thinking is that or what I was thinking, and I was right, was that if I dug on the stumps and pulled them away from the water line, like the one on that side, dig all around that side of it and pull it over that way, and this one dig all around it and pull it this way, so I didn't do too much digging in the middle of the trees. And luckily we didn't get the water line, so I got all the stumps on the whole property out, pile them right here. And then the next day I came and I was loading the stumps on the truck, and when I went down into the leaves in the little root mat to lift the stumps up, all of a sudden this wire came out. And come to find out, it was the internet communication wire and everything. So the guy came out. They work from home, she's in the medical field. They couldn't come out over the long weekend, so I ended up getting wire nuts, tracing all the wires. I sat there for like 2 hours and put the whole wire, everything back together, and it worked, and they had their internet, and she was able to do her work for the long weekend. Guy came out yesterday morning, which is Tuesday, because it was Labor Day weekend, and he said, he told me, he says, "Oh, this house again." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I've been here over the years numerous times." He says, "There's abandoned wires all over this yard." He said, from over the years with phone and communication wires. And I said, "Well, this one, you know, they didn't mark this out." And he said, yeah, he says, "I like to call them off target because they're never on target." But anyways, that's enough talking. That's kind of catch you up to speed on what's going on here. So then we trucked in, filled in the yard. We're gonna spread this topsoil, and then we're gonna hydroseed it. And yeah. Quick, I'm not going to use erosion mat on this job, on this hill, because the last 2 jobs that we used erosion mat on, we actually had to go back, take out the erosion mat, rehydroseed it with just the topsoil, or where I'm at, we call it Loam, L-O-A-M. Some people call it Loam, but it's L-O-A-M. So we're not gonna do that again, because the last 2 times we've had to use that erosion mat. Comes in a package, you read the directions, you follow it to the T, and it just doesn't, the grass just doesn't like to take on it. So in both times that we ripped it back out and redid it, it came out awesome. So we're gonna skip the BS this time and just go straight for what works. Now somebody will probably say, "Oh, you need a retaining wall." Like, look at, there was a hill here before. He wanted to leave that stump because he didn't want me to disturb his rocks that he collected around his backyard over the years. So I told him, you know, they don't really care about the backyard because it's a giant hole and they can't do nothing. What they're trying to get is a flat front yard so the 2 little kids can play. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna keep this. And then, you know, I had talked to him, he didn't want to clear more of that. He does own all of it, but I told him, you know. The reason being is, let me show you real quick. This is, I paid this morning the bill for the fill. And yeah, so that was $3,000 in fill just to get a flat front yard. So you could imagine, I am chewing gum, sorry, but you can imagine how much more money this, you know, working average Joe would have to come up with to fill in this entire massive crater of a yard. And that's not the goal. The goal is to have somewhere for his 2 little girls to play. And he says eventually we're gonna do something with the backyard, but for now, you know, when people walk by, let's give them a nice front yard because of curb appeal. Curb appeal is everything. You know, they were playing in the driveway. You know, he's got the trampoline and they got their little doll house, or I don't know, playhouse, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, I got boys. So people spread topsoil. I've been doing it different ways for years, and this stuff that we love is light and fluffy. If you do not ride all over it and pack it down a little bit, what happens is, see, I'm not gonna do that hill. He's gonna have to rake the hill, but the rest of the yard I'm gonna ride it down and pack it, because if not, when you step in it, you sink. So what that does is that creates little divots. So you got to remember that when you put in a lawn, people have to mow it. And who wants to ride a lawnmower over little divots and things? That's terrible. And then your mowing deck is scalping the humps, and you know, you're sinking in the, see, it's fluffy, so you got to pack it down a little, you know. And then over the years, they will have to aerate it, you know, which you should be doing anyways. That's the most important thing you can do for your lawn, is aerate it.
Alright, so we've got most of it spread out so far. He's just getting the last bit over there to bring over here. And then I think on the other side of that pile, there's a little patch that needs to be raked around, but it's no big deal. But right here is where that internet wire got pulled up a bit. It's really odd because it's supposed to be a certain depth underground, and the wire, I mean, I'm not sure how deep it is now because we put fill over it and this was a hole, but the wire was only about maybe like that deep underground, like 4 inches, 3.5 inches. So it's not ideal for, you know, an internet service cable. And it was a bit of an old one too. I believe they have a landline because one of the wires was live. Yeah, that's about it. Just getting the rest sorted out, getting it flattened out. This loam that we get from this place is fantastic. Hey! Oh. Nice, huh? The loam?
Huh?
The loam? This loam's much better, huh?
Yeah, well, here's the thing about the topsoil. We like to get our topsoil from a couple different places, but this is the best stuff because it's so light and fluffy because they mix a little compost with it. So I found that. So like years ago when I used to work, my brother used to work for me. My brother and I had another business, and I took a few years off, like 6 years off. Just because of stress, I took a few years off and worked for other people. But when my brother used to work for me, he'd get mad whenever I'd drive over it. And he'd say, dude, don't drive over it, you're packing it down, then it's hard for me to rake. Well, here's the thing, so the place we were getting it from back then, the stuff was, it was terrible. It was like too much clay content, and
When it packed, it was like hard after, like you couldn't rake it.
yeah, so like the stump dump that we go to, Nick, I actually had a conversation with him about loam because he had a pile that we were getting, and when you drove over it, it was packing like concrete, and you just could not rake it. But he said, okay, no problem. He says, I'll let the guy, you know that. So now he's mixing his compost in with his loam to lighten and fluff it up, and I'd like to try it again because, you know, Nick's a good guy, and I used to work for him, and I don't know, he's been good to us. But this came from the guy that brought the fill, because that's, you know, that's part of the deal. He gave me the whole triaxle for the day. Every time I do a fill job with him, he calls in this part-timer, and he puts the part-time guy in the triaxle and says you have him for the day. So, and they don't charge me, they charge me per yard delivered for cheaper than it would cost me to truck it. So,
And it's in town.
and it's in town, they don't charge me delivered, they just charge me per yard. So basically, if you think of it business-wise,
It's like a package
and the other
deal.
thing too is it's a package deal, and the other thing too is I asked Nick, and Nick didn't have any fill, so I told
Nowhere has fill.
I told Nick, I says, all right, well, I'll have to get it from what's his name, and you know, so all these guys know that we all bounce around between each other. It's no one's gonna shut their business down because this guy doesn't have this and that guy doesn't have that. That's the way it goes. They all deal with each other too, so there's no hard. Don't anybody get the impression like, oh my God, the one guy that you dumped the stumps at is gonna be mad at you because you didn't buy the stuff from him. And it's like, nope. And my other friend, Taylor, I was buying loam when I was down the street from him. I called him. He has fill, but he needs it for a job, so I told him, okay, well, if I go to, what's his name, Bob, for the fill, then I'm gonna go to Bob for the loam, because it's not fair to go to the guy for just the fill. He gives you a triaxle and a driver for the whole day, pays the fuel, pays the driver, everything. It's basically like it's like my truck for the day, without the expense of actually owning that truck. And
Yeah.
then for me to turn around and say, okay, well now I'm gonna go to him because he's $1 cheaper for the loam.
Yeah,
No,
after he's
topsoil.
like give you the triaxle for the whole day.
That's not right. That would be dirty, and I'm not like that. I try to, you know, I would be, if it was me, I'd be upset. Like, hey man, I'm taking care of you, and then you, so that's why if you watch my videos, you'll see different trucks and different yards that we dump at and everything.
And it's always like the same 3.
It's always the same 3 yards. Sometimes it's, well, then we got the quarry for the stone.
That's different. That I don't really.
That's different because
That's a huge, massive company, you know.
Well, not only that, all 3 of the yards we go to for fill and loam all go to the big yard for the stone.
Right.
So.
That's like the massive company, you know. It's like, that's like That's like, you know, that's like comparing a mom and pop shop to Walmart.
Well, let's just put it into perspective. I know the owner on a personal level. He gave me a tour of one of his facilities off Cape, and we drove around in his pickup truck, and he had 134 semi trucks on that location.
Just that location.
Just that location. And
Yeah.
down the street from us, I have no idea. There's rows and rows of them. You know, you see them.
There's got to be at least 80, 90 of them down there.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
You know, we'll get back to it, but that's the thing on the topsoil. If you get topsoil that's got clay content, it's not fluffy. We discovered this stuff that we get from Bob is so fluffy, you can ride on it all day, packing it down.
For loam, this is like powder. This is perfect.
But it's like composty. But
Yeah.
we discovered that you can ride on it all day long with a machine, pack it all down, put the bucket on edge, make it so it's that shiny, smooth back blade, right? And then just give it like an hour, and it literally dries out in the sun, and you can hit it
And it's
again.
flaky. It becomes flaky.
Yeah.
The other stuff with the clay turns into like concrete.
Oh, that stuff's like cement, and I don't like that other stuff either because the roots have a hard time taking to it because, you know.
Yeah, when you spray onto it. So like when you backblade this stuff and it's like that flat,
other
smooth,
thing,
you
too,
could
is-
spray right on it. But with the other stuff, when it's all clay, you can't spray on it. You have to break it up.
Yeah, you gotta break it up, and you have to have like a power rake, or you have to have like a strong.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a daunting task to
strong
rake the
arm.
other stuff.
It's terrible, and then the other, you know, and it's terrible, and it's slippery. We were on a slope one time. Remember that house downtown?
Oh yeah, yeah.
We were sliding all over the thing, and it
Yeah.
was slimy, and then
You know, and then it gets caught in the tracks.
yeah, and then it got caught in the tracks, and it doesn't fall off. It's like mud. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's,
This stuff, if there's some in the tracks, you know, you just lift it up,
brush it off.
shake it, it just falls right off. The other stuff, you got to get a shovel and whack it off the tracks.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is the other thing too about that other stuff, you know, versus this stuff is that's like construction yard loam, like from, you know, construction jobs. This is half and half, like half construction from jobs, half, you know,
Like compost stuff.
yeah, they have grass mowing companies, landscapers dumping in one big pile, and what they do is the two massive piles, they half and half mix it,
Yeah.
you know? So it's I don't know, we're talking way too much about
Yeah.
dirt. We
8
do a
minutes
lot
of talking for
lately,
dirt, you know? Yeah, we've been doing a lot of talking, huh?
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to get a talk show or something. You know, wear funny suits, invite celebrities on to, you know, play saxophone and stuff.
No problem. How many celebrities do you know?
3.
No, you only know one.
Ready?
Camera on.
Camera on.
Camera
Activato.
action. I can't act if you don't say action.
I don't have the thing that, like, I flipped it, you know, the thing you flip down? You say, click, action.
Just alligator arms it.
Action.
So, anyways, we're getting rain tomorrow. What that means is no hydro seed today. Because we don't want it to wash out. So we're gonna pull the skid steer out of here and bring it home. That was an old gutter pipe that was in the ground that was full of dirt and wasn't connected to anything anyways. But this is pretty much it. It's all flat. There was a huge hump there, huge hump here, trees. I recycled the gas, no gas sign. It says no gas at number 12, which is the house. So, yard is nice and flat, pitched off, holes filled in. Unfortunately, we already went over the reason that's going down there, because it would cost hundreds of thousands more than we spent. Well, it wasn't $100,000, let me just say that off the bat, but it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to fill in this entire property. So, wind's picking up real bad. There's like a storm coming, which sucks. We're gonna take this machine to the next job, and then we're just gonna have to pop back in with the hydro seeder, maybe not tomorrow, maybe Friday. Today's Wednesday, and spray the job.
It's
and
not too bad. We could probably get away with it tomorrow evening.
Maybe tomorrow evening we'll pop back in, but we gotta get this thing moved to the next job. And yeah, that's gonna be it, right?
I'd say that's about it.
Right? Alligator arms us out of here.
Cut.
Alright guys, I was in the neighborhood. I gotta look at another job, but this is the one that we were doing. That we were talking about. It came out pretty good, huh? That's after having all these tropical, I don't know, storms, non-stop rain. One day I was actually really nervous about it, and I called the homeowner and asked him if, you know, he was getting any washing. He said two little spots, but he said nothing that couldn't be you know, touched up with a little bit of seed. So I went by there, and see, there's puddles everywhere. This whole road floods bad. Look, there's puddle over there. I mean, it just keeps raining every day. So that's a quick little video on my thoughts on topsoil. Catch you guys on the next one.